Have you ever felt a silence so profound after a loss, it almost screamed? That's the untold language of grief, a world many women over 40 find themselves navigating as they try to reclaim their lives. This video isn't about moving on. It's about moving forward, understanding the subtle shifts within you, and rebuilding a life that honors your past while embracing your future. If that question made your chest tighten a little, you're not imagining it. Grief has a way of entering a room without making a sound. One day, everything is loud with life and responsibility, and the next, there's this quiet that feels unfamiliar, almost disrespectful in how ordinary the world keeps being. Loss after 40 hits differently. By this point, you've already lived enough life to know how fragile things really are. You've loved deeply. You've built routines, relationships, identities. And when something or someone significant is gone, it's not just sadness that follows. It's disorientation. It's the feeling that the ground shifted slightly and no one else seems to notice. You might still be showing up, going to work, answering messages, making dinner. From the outside, it can look like you're handling it. But inside, something feels altered. Your thoughts move slower. Your patience is thinner. Your energy doesn't return the way it used to. And sometimes you wonder if this is just how life is now. What makes grief especially isolating is how little space there is to talk about it honestly. People mean well. They say things like, "You're so strong," or "they'd want you to be happy." And even if those words are kind, they can land heavily because you're not trying to be strong. You're trying to breathe. You're trying to understand who you are now that something essential is missing. This conversation isn't about timelines or silver linings. It's not about fixing grief or wrapping it up neatly. It's about listening to it, learning its language, understanding the strange ways it shows up long after the casseroles are gone and the check-in messages slow down. In this video, we're going to talk quietly and honestly about what grief can look like when you're a woman over 40, how it settles into your body, how it changes your sense of self, how it asks you to rebuild, even when you didn't ask for any of this. You don't need to take notes. You don't need to do anything with what you hear today. Just let this be a place where your experience doesn't need to be explained or justified. If you're carrying a loss that doesn't have easy words, you're in the right place. Grief rarely looks the way we expect it to, especially not after the first wave passes. It doesn't always come with tears or dramatic moments. More often, it slips into your life quietly and settles into places you didn't think to look. It might show up as exhaustion. That doesn't make sense. You sleep, but you never feel rested. Simple tasks feel heavier than they used to. Decisions that once came easily now take effort. You might catch yourself rereading the same email 3 times and still not absorbing it. For many women, grief lives in the body before it finds words. Headaches, tight shoulders, a stomach that's constantly unsettled, a nervous system that feels permanently on edge. You might feel irritable for no clear reason or emotionally flat when you expect to feel something. And then there's the brain fog, that unsettling sense that your mind isn't as sharp as it once was. You forget appointments, lose track of conversations, walk into rooms and can't remember why you're there. It can be frightening, especially when you've always prided yourself on being capable and organized. What often goes unrecognized is that this, too, is grief. Not just sadness, but your system adjusting to a world that no longer feels familiar. A part of your safety, routine, or identity is gone, and your body is responding the only way it knows how. Grief also changes over time, which can be confusing. You might feel okay for weeks, even months, and then be caught off guard by a wave that comes out of nowhere. A song in the grocery store, a smell, a random Tuesday afternoon when the quiet suddenly feels too loud. People sometimes assume grief has an expiration date, that after a certain amount of time, you should be back to normal. But grief doesn't move in straight lines. It loops. It softens and sharpens. It recedes and returns. And each time it shows up, it might look a little different. What's important to hear is this: nothing is wrong with you. You're not failing at healing. You're not stuck. You're responding to loss in a human way. Many women learn to minimize these signals. They tell themselves they're just tired, just stressed, just busy. And while those things may be true, grief often lives underneath them, quietly asking to be acknowledged. Decoding grief's unspoken signals isn't about analyzing every feeling. It's about offering yourself curiosity instead of judgment. When your body slows down, when your emotions feel unpredictable, when your patience wears thin, it might be grief asking for gentleness. Listening to these signals doesn't make the pain worse. It actually creates space for it to move, to breathe, to change. And that awareness becomes the foundation for everything that comes next. After a significant loss, one of the most unsettling feelings can be how unsure you suddenly feel about who you are. Not in an abstract way, but in very ordinary moments. You wake up and something feels off, even before you remember why. The routines are the same, but you're not. Loss doesn't just take a person or a role. It often takes a version of you with it. A version that existed in relation to someone else, a partner, a parent, a sibling, a future you assumed would unfold a certain way. When that anchor disappears, the question quietly rises: who am I now? For women over 40, this question can feel especially heavy. By this stage, identity is usually intertwined with responsibility. You've been needed, relied on, defined by what you do for others. When loss interrupts that structure, it can leave a strange emptiness, even alongside the pain. You might notice this in simple ways. Not knowing how to introduce yourself anymore, feeling disconnected from goals that once mattered, wondering why things that used to motivate you suddenly feel irrelevant. It can be confusing and, at times, frightening. There's often pressure to find meaning quickly, to turn pain into purpose before you're ready. But grief doesn't rush. It dismantles first. It clears space, even when you didn't ask for that clearing. This in-between phase can feel messy. You might feel capable one day and completely lost the next. Strong in one moment, fragile in the next. That inconsistency isn't a flaw. It's part of recalibration. Your inner world is adjusting to a reality you didn't choose. There is quiet courage in allowing yourself to not know, in resisting the urge to immediately redefine yourself in ways that make others comfortable. Vulnerability at this stage isn't weakness, it's honesty. Some women find themselves drawn to things that feel small but grounding, walking without a destination, sitting in silence longer than usual, journaling without an agenda. These aren't signs of stagnation, they're signs of listening. Reclaiming purpose after loss doesn't mean replacing what was lost. It means letting your sense of self evolve naturally without forcing it into a new shape too soon. Purpose will return, but often in quieter, more authentic ways than before. For now, it's enough to acknowledge that you are changing, and that change, even when born from grief, can eventually hold meaning of its own. When grief feels overwhelming, advice can feel irritating. You don't need someone telling you to be positive or to try harder. What actually helps are small, gentle ways to steady yourself when the world feels unrecognizable. Healing doesn't require grand gestures. Often it begins with learning how to stay present in moments that feel too big. Mindfulness doesn't have to mean sitting cross-legged in silence. It can be as simple as noticing your feet on the floor when your thoughts start to spiral. Taking a slow breath before responding to someone. Pausing instead of pushing through. There will be days when even that feels like too much. On those days, returning to basic routines can be grounding. Making tea the same way each morning, going for a short walk at the same time each day. These small anchors create a sense of continuity when everything else feels uncertain. Re-engaging with daily life after loss can feel strange. You might feel guilty for laughing or disconnected from things you once enjoyed. It's okay to move slowly here. You don't have to force joy. Simply allowing moments of neutrality or even brief relief is enough. Support is another quiet pillar of healing, though it doesn't always come from where you expect. Some people disappear when grief enters the room. Others show up in surprising ways. A coworker who listens without trying to fix. A friend who doesn't rush you. A therapist, support group, or community space where your experience doesn't need to be edited. It's also okay to be selective. Not everyone earns the right to hear your grief story. Protecting your emotional energy is part of healing, not avoidance. Many women carry an unspoken belief that they should handle this on their own, that asking for help means burdening others. But grief is already heavy. Sharing it doesn't add weight, it redistributes it. Practical healing isn't about doing everything right. It's about noticing what genuinely helps you feel a little more steady and giving yourself permission to lean into that without explanation. Some days, progress will look like getting through the day. Other days, it will look like glimpses of peace you didn't expect. Both matter. You're not failing if healing feels slow. You're walking a path that doesn't have shortcuts, and every small step counts, even when it doesn't feel like it. After loss, the world doesn't just feel quieter, it feels different. Familiar relationships can suddenly feel awkward or strained, even with people who care about you deeply. Conversations that once felt easy now take effort. You might find yourself withdrawing, not because you don't want connection, but because you don't know how to show up the way you used to. Grief changes the way you relate to others. You may notice that small talk feels unbearable, or that social gatherings drain you faster than before. Sometimes it's because people don't know what to say. Sometimes it's because you don't have the energy to make them comfortable anymore. There's often an unspoken pressure to be strong in social spaces, to reassure others that you're okay, to minimize your pain so no one feels awkward. Over time, this can leave you feeling even more alone, surrounded by people but unseen. Learning to navigate connection after loss takes patience. You might find that some relationships naturally fade, while others deepen in unexpected ways. This can be painful, but it can also be clarifying. Grief has a way of stripping away pretense and revealing where safety actually exists. Asking for help can feel incredibly vulnerable, especially if you've spent much of your life being the one others rely on. You might worry about burdening people or about being perceived as weak. But asking doesn't have to be dramatic. Sometimes it's as simple as saying, I'm having a hard day, or I don't feel like talking much, but I don't want to be alone. Finding your people after loss doesn't always mean finding new friends. It can mean connecting with others who understand grief without needing it explained. A support group, a quiet online space, a single person who listens without interrupting or offering solutions. Connection doesn't have to look the way it used to. It can be softer, slower, more honest. You're allowed to redefine what closeness means now based on who you are becoming. Community after loss isn't about filling the void. It's about creating spaces where you don't have to hide it, where your grief is allowed to exist without being rushed or fixed. You don't need a large circle. You need a real one. And it's okay if building that takes time. Moving forward after loss doesn't mean leaving the past behind. It means learning how to carry it differently. The people, the roles, the life you lost remain part of you. They don't disappear just because you continue living. For many women, there's fear around the idea of healing. A worry that feeling better somehow dishonors what was lost. But healing isn't forgetting, it's integration. It's allowing the loss to become part of your story without letting it define every chapter that follows. Honoring what was can look quiet. It can live in rituals only you know about, in memories you revisit gently, in moments where you pause and acknowledge how far you've come, even if the road has been uneven. Self-compassion becomes essential here. There's no correct pace for grief. Some days you may feel grounded and hopeful. Other days the weight returns unexpectedly. Neither cancels the other. Both can exist at the same time. Giving yourself permission to move at your own speed is one of the kindest things you can do. You don't owe anyone proof of progress. You don't need to perform resilience. Your experience is valid exactly as it is. Over time, small moments of light begin to appear. A laugh that surprises you. A sense of calm that lasts a little longer than before. A glimpse of curiosity about the future. These moments don't erase the loss. They sit beside it. Joy after grief often feels quieter, more tender. It's less about excitement and more about peace. Less about chasing and more about presence. And that kind of joy can be deeply sustaining. This next chapter of your life doesn't need to look like what came before. It can be shaped by everything you've learned, everything you've endured, and everything you still hope for. Moving forward doesn't mean you're done grieving. It means you're allowing life to expand again, slowly, carefully, in a way that feels true to who you are now. And that is more than enough. If you're still here with me, I want to acknowledge that. Listening all the way through something like this takes energy, especially when grief is already asking so much of you. It means something in these words touched a place you recognize, even if you don't fully know how to name it yet. Grief doesn't end when the video ends. It doesn't resolve itself because you understand it better. It continues to walk beside you, sometimes quietly, sometimes loudly, sometimes showing up when you least expect it. And that can feel discouraging, especially if part of you wishes you were further along by now. But moving forward after loss isn't about reaching a finish line. It's about learning how to live with what has changed without abandoning yourself in the process. It's about letting your life expand again in small, careful ways, even while you carry what you've lost with you. You might notice that some days feel steadier than others. Some mornings you wake up and the weight is lighter. Other days, it's right there again, heavy and familiar. This doesn't mean you're going backward. It means you're human. Grief isn't a straight road. It curves, pauses, and sometimes doubles back. What matters is that you're listening now, to your body, to your limits, to the quieter needs that may have been ignored while you focused on surviving. That kind of listening is an act of respect. It's a way of saying, I matter too, even now. You don't need to rush yourself into hope. Hope tends to arrive gently on its own timeline. Often it shows up disguised as acceptance or calm or a sense that maybe you can handle today. That's enough. That's real progress, even if it doesn't look dramatic. If you're feeling alone in this, please know that you're not. So many women over 40 are carrying grief that doesn't get talked about openly, losses that don't always come with clear labels, changes that altered their lives in ways others can't fully see. This space exists because of that shared, quiet experience. You don't have to be strong all the time. You don't have to explain your grief in ways that make others comfortable. You don't have to justify why certain things still hurt. Your experience is valid exactly as it is. As you move forward, slowly and imperfectly, I hope you can offer yourself the same compassion you'd offer someone you love, the same patience, the same understanding. Healing isn't about erasing the past. It's about making room for the future without denying what shaped you. If this video felt like a place you could breathe for a while, you're always welcome back. Let these words sit with you. Let them fade in and out as needed. You don't need to do anything with them right now. Just know this. You are not broken by your grief. You are not weak for still feeling it. And you are allowed to keep living, even with it beside you. You're not alone on this path. Before you go, I want to invite you to join this community of women rediscovering themselves after 40. If you found comfort, clarity, or even just a moment of peace in this video, please subscribe. It helps this channel grow, and it helps more women find the support they deserve. And if you have a second, leave a like and a comment. I would love to hear what resonated with you the most. Thank you for being here. Truly.